You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. Always pleased to be joined by Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. Shea, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing really well. Tigers are obviously making headway on the field. Feels like it's been a little quiet on the recruiting trail. Am I reading that correctly?
I think quiet's a good thing. Often when you have 27 commits, I mean, they added Jacob Bradford out of Catholic, a 4-star safety, a little more than a week ago. So this is good. Remember, signing day is in early December now, so you are 8 weeks away, 7 weeks away, something like that. And with a top 5 class, top 3 class, and holding on to these 27 commits, I think that's what's paramount. And then obviously closing out on your remaining targets, which I think if they add a couple of more guys, there is zero doubt or debate as to who the number 1 target is, and that's Jakeem Stewart.
With home games, we know they can obviously host players, so we get to see a lot of the big names that come on campus. What does, if anything, the staff do whenever they're on the road like they were at Arkansas, now at Texas A&M back-to-back weeks?
Really, just keep up with kids over the phone as much as you can. They have a kind of a allotted number of days they're allowed to go out on the road, but they do that during the bye weeks, which they have 2 of this year, so they sort of split it up. But when you're in an opponent territory, you can, another stadium, you cannot engage with their recruits, whether they are committed to you or not. So we will see a number of guys, I'm certain, once A&M puts out who all is expected to visit, that our Louisiana guys are guys who are being recruited by both programs, East Texas kids. So I think this will be a pretty big weekend. I always say one game isn't going to swing a kid one way or the other, but if you've got an East Texas kid, for instance, that's a junior that you're in on, you go over there and put on a big show, it doesn't hurt.
Do we know what the guest list might look like for A&M this weekend?
I haven't seen one yet, but again, I would imagine with both of these teams having heavily their class currently, their seniors are mostly built. So everyone's sort of focused into next year. So I'm going to guess a lot of the East Texas, Louisiana 2026 prospects will be there. And that's guys like Lamar Brown over at U-High, a 5-star who, if I were to pick on one hand, the teams that I think he could end up at, A&M would be right there with LSU as one of the first teams I'd name. So I do think with this battle of, not the border, but battle between kind of LSU, A&M, we've seen it a lot. We've seen a lot in the Jimbo years, but it's going to be interesting to track moving forward because since Texas has joined the SEC, Matt, and I don't know if it's an Elko thing, year 1, maybe just how it unfolded, there's been a whole lot more LSU versus Texas than LSU versus Texas A&M, which was not the case before Texas joined the SEC.
Well, remind me, Shea, because LSU did flip. It was like 3 or 4 players from the A&M class.
They did last year.
Yeah. So what? So was that? Are you just looking at that as an outlier, or are you talking about this 25 class and beyond?
This 25, this current class, we saw just a ton of LSU. And look, LSU flipped some Texas kids. Cade Phillips was committed to Texas. Obviously, they flipped him, and now he's moving his way into top 5 corner status, and they've already got the number 1 corner committed in DJ Pickett. So I guess, but consider it a this year observation then, as obviously they went and grabbed a number of guys last year. But again, A&M was flatlining. There was going to be a coaching change. They grabbed guys during it. Moving forward, I'm just curious to see. I lean that after about 5 years of us talking a lot of LSU versus A&M, that we're about to be talking a lot of LSU versus Texas.
Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. He's on Twitter at Shea Dixon. Y'all give him a follow. Just talking about those A&M flips. You've mentioned this a couple times, Shea, that a year ago, what was it, about roughly a third of LSU's class were players they flipped. Are there still, we talked, obviously Jakeem Stewart is the big fish that's out there you just mentioned. Are there other players that LSU is still recruiting actively that could be flip targets going right up to signing day?
Yeah, I think that one, you look, if they want to take another offensive lineman, it's an offensive tackle, and Solomon Thomas is a guy who's shown a lot of interest in LSU, and Florida State's not had a good season. Now, at the same time, he's really given no indication that he's flipping. He's got a lot of family in the area. He's been firm, but he continues to visit. We'll see if he doesn't make it in for another game. He's one I'd watch. They just brought in the number 2 receiver, Caleb Cunningham, who's been committed to Bama for a visit 2 weekends ago, I guess it was. But he's also visiting a number of campuses. I think that if you're getting down into this point where, look, LSU's class top to bottom is as good as it's been in a while. And they have a top 3 class. They have the number 1 player committed. They have a trio of 5 stars. They may have more than that when it's all said and done. So I think if they're flipping guys at this point in their game, they're flipping guys like a Jacob Bradford who is committed to a Houston, and you make an eval on him as a senior going into his senior year, and you say, hey, look, he can play at this level. And we saw that with the Dylan Carpenters of the world a couple of years back. Each year, we see them move on guys late. So I wouldn't be shocked if flip-wise it would be a Louisiana thing.
Are there, if you flip that around, Shea, are there current guys in the class, the LSU class, that you could look? Because, listen, that works both ways, right? I mean, you get guys and you lose guys. That's something, it's natural attrition that happens in every signing class. Are there guys in this class that maybe you feel like they got to work extra hard to keep that could be looking elsewhere?
When I think about that game, you start with the top of, look, Bryce Underwood, DJ Pickett, your 5 stars, right? And look, they have Harlan Bear as a 5-star, but he's in Louisiana, New Orleans. So you worry about a little bit less. Underwood's in Michigan, and we've got all the Michigan buzz of Portnoy and boosters, and they're going to try to make a move. Well, we've seen nothing out of Bryce to lead us to believe that he's doing anything but staying committed to LSU. And by that same token, DJ Pickett has been committed to LSU since the summer. Miami is turning up the heat, as they say each week. Well, they were before he committed there, and they have ever since. And yes, we're in the NIL world, but look, LSU's not asleep at the wheel there in terms of kind of holding on to guys down the stretch. Then I go geographic with it. And so then I would pick a guy, and look, I'm just saying this because he was written about today and he fits the description. Derek Meadows, their commitment, top 100, 150 player. I don't know where he's ranked right now, but coming out of Bishop Gorman in Nevada, he was supposed to commit to Notre Dame, is what everyone thought. Mm-hmm. And he kind of reversed course and went to and said, hey, look, I'm looking at the SEC schools, and LSU was the one he liked the most. And Will Farmer, Chad Simmons, one of them today wrote for On3 that just of note that, hey, look, Notre Dame has still been heavily recruiting him. When you've got a guy that's that far away and some initial interest in a school, you pay attention to it. But by and large, I think this class is going to just hold firm with what they've got.
A couple more for you. Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. I guess this is going to be an obligatory Jakeem Stewart question.
Sure.
I know he was up at the Oregon-Ohio State game a couple of weeks ago. What can you tell us is the latest there?
Yeah, I mean, look, the great atmosphere. Obviously, that was the same weekend as the Ole Miss game, and those were the two that came down to the end, and the fans rushed the field, all that. I won't get into that with you, but the kids love it. But they're
not recruiting me.
Recruit. Yeah, well, Dan Lanning can recruit. Dan Lanning's not recruiting you either. So,
no, he's not.
He doesn't care about your opinion here. Lanning has put together great classes at Oregon. He's got the Southeast ties in him to where he knows how and where to get guys from and the relationships they need. So I'm not counting Oregon out of this. By the same token, I've always said Ohio State was the one that I thought could loom more than a USC or an Oregon, just because of the relationships he has there. Larry Johnson's a Bo Davis type, one of the most well-known D-line coaches there is out there for development and putting guys into the pros. So that visit still looms at the end when they play Michigan. I think that's his final visit before signing day, but he will be here for the Bama game. We'll see what the atmosphere and the result of that one is. But in terms of just Matt, who's put in the most time, where's he visited the most, it's LSU. They're a local team. But I do think he's giving it a good hard look as he kind of takes a final, hey, let me really soak this in at each of these schools. And for me, I would say 4, Southern Cal's in it, but I'm still leaning it's LSU, Ohio State with Oregon as the team you really can't sleep on.
Jay, also noticed a couple of days ago over at On3 that posted updated rankings for 2026 as we look ahead of this junior class, and Blaine Bradford from right here in Baton Rouge, Calici, is number 7 in the country. Maybe for those that aren't familiar, if they haven't started to look too far ahead, what can you tell us about Blaine Bradford as a prospect in his recruitment?
Yeah, you're a grad of the local school that Blaine attends.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Blaine in person before?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like recently?
Not this
not
fall.
Like yesterday,
no,
but within the past year.
Oh, within the past year, yes.
Okay. He could be playing for LSU right now, and he'd be the biggest kid in their secondary. So that gets you rolling on why this is considered the best safety in the country. This is not bragging on Catholic High, and I'm not making any statements. Also a very smart kid. So between the brains and the body and what he does on the field, every college coach is salivating over him. He's a no-doubter top safety in the country right now, and he moved up. He was 10. I think he's now 7, you said? Something like that.
7.
So, you're looking at a kid who we often try to mimic, or more often than not, the top 32, the 5 stars as to the NFL draft, and you're not going top 10 overall unless you're Jamal Adams or Kyle Hamilton or someone like that. So consider Blaine Bradford to be viewed in that light right now.
Pretty high praise. You want to talk about fixing the secondary and the defense in a hurry? DJ Pickett, Blaine Bradford, Don McKinley this year, and obviously a guy like Jakeem Stewart. You can make hay in a hurry with guys like that. Tigers doing work. Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. Y'all get him on Twitter, X at Shea Dixon. Visits with us every Tuesday. Talk a little fruit. We appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Yep, sounds good. Thanks, Matt.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.